Your reasons for listening to the show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuddle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. Yeah, it's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen. One-of-a-kind shades made to order by VaporShades.com. Vapor Shades designs the outer layer of the sunglasses just like a wrap on a car. They customize your sunglasses, marbling the paint. The end result is no two pair of sunglasses are alike. Yours will be completely unique to you. Check us out at VaporShades.com. Use promo code Tuddle for 15% off your entire order. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuddle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuddle. Tuddle in Florida.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
Anarchy! Anarchy! Anarchy!
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuddle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Welcome to another edition of the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. My morning actually got started off pretty well, but before I get into that, make sure you check out my website, Tuddle.net. That's Tuddle with two D's, Tuddle.net. There's a couple of ways you can get a hold of me. You can email me, Tuddle@gmail.com. That's Tuddle with two D's, Tuddle@gmail.com. Or my preferred method of getting a hold of me, leave me a voicemail, 407-270-3044. Once again, that is 407-270-3044. I got up a little bit later today, but I was getting a lot of text messages. Hey, guess what, guys? Guess what, Tuddle? Bubba's talking about you. And I'm like, oh, crap. What did I do now? And I knew that this had already happened. Seth Kushner turned in, I guess, his week's notice. And then, I guess, just decided not to show up for work today. Do you want to know who did it the right way? And you got to give him a lot of respect. Is Colton. Colton, the one guy that everybody used to want to take a shit on, the one that said, oh, he's lazy or he's not doing his job. Guess what? Colton did it right. Colton gave in his 2 weeks' notice, wrote a great, amazing letter resigning, thanking everybody there for the opportunity, and he did his time and left. But I can almost guarantee you the reason why Seth did not work until Friday was because Seth does not like to be made to be felt. He doesn't like to feel uncomfortable, is what I'm trying to say before I just completely jumbled up all those words. But what I'm trying to say is Seth does not like to be made to be felt uncomfortable. And that's why he did not work the rest of the week. Which I think is a little bit of a pussy way to go out. But I was actually on the line with Bubba today. I ended up calling in. I was trying to call the hotline, but it was busy because I think Babyface was on there. If I'm just being honest, I didn't think it was busy. I was like, ooh, maybe they don't have the hotline anymore. So what I did was I called the regular line, and I was able to get in. And I was able to talk to Bubba. Now, listen, I kind of get it now. I kind of get what Bubba is wanting. I'm not saying that Bubba wants a pussy, but Bubba also does not want a dick that's just just always counter programming. And that's kind of what I was doing the last time that I was on the radio show. So guess what? If you want me to be that guy that maybe counter programs every once in a while, but that isn't a complete asshole about it, or if you want me to just have a hungry mouth and take it all day long, I am pretty much down to do whatever I need to do. And even if Bubba does not bring me back, Listen, I still have this podcast that I want to do. I'm offering, I'll do a one-off show for Bubba once a week on Bubba Army Radio, if that's what he wants. Yes, I will most certainly do that. Let me know what I need to do. But I had a great conversation. It was amazing to be able to talk to Bubba. You know, one of the things that I noticed, Anna did not. I didn't hear Anna's voice at all. Was Anna not in there today? Like, seriously. Because I know that I came on a little strong at first. And I kind of went after Anna, but, you know, I mean, look, you guys got to realize the people that I have worked with, the radio shows that I've worked with, that's what you do. I mean, radio is kind of like prison. When you show up on the scene, you look for the biggest mother effort you can. And listen, you might get your ass kicked. You might get your ass handed to you, but you got to come correct. You got to come strong. Why do I always sound so effing nerdy when I try to be cool? You got to come correct. Maybe it's my delivery or my voice, but what I'm trying to say is you just got to go after the biggest guy in the yard. And right then and there, Anna was the new girl on town. But I stand corrected now. Guys, I think Anna is a state national radio treasure when it comes to broadcasting. I mean, there's not a lot of women that can hang with the Bubba the Love Sponge show. It's just not happening. And she's been able to do it. And I'm not trying to like be sexist or anything like this, but you know what? She's more of a man, but a very, very attractive man than what Seth Cush is, in my opinion. And I'm just being honest. I really, really am. I think Anna is amazing. I'm glad that Blitz is still there. I saw the tweet I think Seth made the other day because I'm blocked by Seth. And the only reason I saw that is because somebody screenshot it. But Seth said something about, yeah, I bet Blitz is glad that I'm gone now. So I don't know what was going on there. I just know that Blitz has a lot of pull there. And you don't want to mess with Blitz because Blitz is one of the biggest swinging dicks at the BRN. And K-Man, K-Man's killed it. K-Man is just a success story when it comes into radio because the guy worked his ass off. He has done so many different jobs at the BRN, and now he's the executive producer. He's been the executive producer for quite some time now. But what I'm trying to say is that is a big-time success story. And then Lummy. Lummy is killing it. Lummy has grown as a broadcaster. Lummy is doing an amazing job. So I would be honored to be able to come back and do something with them in some type of fashion. So, guys, I got to take a quick break because I got a great interview right around the corner. And I'm telling you, I'm going to go along with this one. The one and only, locally, originally from the Daytona Beach News Journal, now working with Fox Sports, Fox, NASCAR, the one and only Bob Pockrass, right around the corner. You are listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
He's a nerd,
I've only been arrested one time.
a radio personality,
Professionally, I'm not in the best position that I've ever been in.
and hot talk satirizer.
You would think with everything that's going on, a Caucasian like myself wouldn't be able to randomly talk to an African American or a minority.
You're listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Wish you could have just flown and had your vehicle arrive a day or two later so you can enjoy more time doing what's important to you? Well, you can. Just give Starfire Transport a call. Let the professionals do the driving while you're flying. Starfire Transport specializes in RV and auto transport. They'll also haul watercraft from boats to PWCs, cargo trailers, and more. Service available throughout the continental United States. So don't wait. Call Brian today at 574-349-4193 or 989-751-6106 for your next move. 10% off for veterans past or present. Also, make sure to tell them Tuddle sent you for an additional discount. That's Starfire Transport. Do you have something you want to say?
Hey, what kind of preacher is you?
Leave Tuddle a voicemail.
Cause you kind of ignorant.
Especially if you think he's being an asshole.
No-legged bitch.
Will your hurtful comments offend Tuddle?
No, baby.
Call the show at 407-270-3044.
No, baby.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. This is an interview that I haven't been able to talk to this guy in a while because I used to run into him all the time at DIS, Daytona International Speedway. And when I was in high school, Bob Pockrass is on with me. Were you in the News Journal? Or how long were you at the News Journal?
I worked for the Daytona Beach News Journal from 1991 to 2003.
Yeah, who was the main guy that was a writer there? He actually wrote about me when I played high school baseball at Pearson Taylor. A little bit of a heavier set guy, but he wrote high school sports there.
Big Ed?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That was like the biggest honor as a high school kid growing up, like to be able to have him write something about me because he had a great way of writing. He added a lot of humor and stuff into his articles.
Yeah, he did, and it was good. I spent a lot of time up at Pearson as well, and then got kind of shifted towards a little bit to other schools. But
Bob, how did you get into NASCAR though? Were you always there? Because in my opinion, to the true NASCAR fans, when it comes to riders, you are that guy. Like, I mean, you gotta know, like, you are that guy.
Well, I grew up in Indy, or I moved to Indianapolis when I was 10, so I knew IndyCar, but I didn't really get into NASCAR until I started at the Daytona paper in 1991. So my first Daytona 500 is 1992.
And who was the winner that year, by the way? Can I guess real quick? Sterling Marlin, maybe? No.
Gosh, it's hard for me to remember. That's this kind of stuff I look up. I think I remember writing about. Was that Elliott's first year at?
It might have been
Virginia Johnson. I know I just wrote about teammates not working together, and gosh, 30 years later, there's not a whole lot of difference, right?
No, there is not, man, because at the end of that race and at Daytona, Keselowski and Logano kind of got into it there, right? Opening up the door for Mcdowell to get in there, correct?
That's right. Brad. Joey said I just wanted to get in front of Brad to get a good push. Brad probably thinks Joey was doing a little bit of a block. And Michael McDowell, I wasn't sure whether Michael McDowell could make a move to win the Daytona 500, but he didn't need to make a move. All he needed was the two other guys to make a move, and the seas parted.
Let me ask you, why did they throw the caution at that part of the track? Like, I mean, sometimes they will let them race if the caution is a little bit further down the track where they have enough time to be able to get slowed down before they get there. Why? Because that was going into 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, I think, when you saw the fire, they're going to want to dispatch as many safety vehicles as possible. And, and so they're probably going to come from all different directions. And they, if it's a hard hit, if there's a car up in the air, like, Keselowski's was pretty much on top of Kyle Busch's. They're gonna throw it because they feel like they've got to get the safety vehicles moving. They got to get everybody else slowed down in case they're coming back toward that area after the race. And so they, that's their thinking. And it's hard to argue. If somebody had been seriously injured and somebody said, well, 10 seconds could have made the difference, in the care. You don't want to say, well, we wanted to finish it under green when, there were so many balls of flame, in that type of accident and so many hard hits.
I whose idea? Because I mean, it's either going to be brilliant marketing or you're kind of like setting yourself up for failure. Is it Fox's idea for best season ever, or is that a NASCAR thing there? Because I was trying to figure out why did they best season ever?
Yeah, I think I'm not in those conversations, but you obviously saw those advertisements on Fox. That was those promos were done by Fox.
But how much does NASCAR though? How much does NASCAR play into that?
I tell you the truth, I really don't.
You don't know.
I mean, I think there's certainly input, or there's certainly, I would say that no partner is going to do some sort of promotion without at least notifying the other partner, right? Or there's at least some conversation just to make sure that there's no issues. But I don't think anybody had a problem with that one.
Now, so I think the reason that they're going there is I've wanted new races. I wanted new tracks. Okay. They got Austin. Now, before we get into talking about that, Bristol with dirt. How has that process been going along? Have you heard anything?
Well, they already have the dirt down. They got the dirt from about 5 miles away. And they showed on their website the dump trucks going and getting the dirt and bringing it back to Bristol. They've and so now they're working on preparing it and packing it down and getting it ready to race. And, I'm not going to say it's going to be a great race, but I'm going to say it's going to be must-see TV because it's going to be, when you're trying it for the first time, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be wild. And then I guess, after you see it once, you'll decide whether you want to do it again.
Now, Austin coming up. Why are the fans, have they been wanting more road course races? Because I know that they're staying in Daytona again. Not a lot of people realize that they're still in Daytona because they're going to be running the road course. And I've actually have been really enjoying the road course races on at DIS. What have the fans wanted more road course races? What's the feeling been like?
Yeah, the fans have. I mean, according to NASCAR, fans want more road courses and more short tracks. And NASCAR took one short track away, right, in the sense of Bristol, and it made it dirt. But they certainly have added a number of road courses at the expense of some intermediate, 1.5-mile tracks and a 2-mile tracks. So the NASCAR thinks that fans will enjoy it. Obviously, the Xfinity Series had already run at Road America. So, it's a putting cup there. Seemed, like a good idea to NASCAR. And, I think running at Circuit of the Americas in Austin is, that's twofold. One, they want that market. They like the Austin market, but also two, fans who follow other forms of motorsports know COTA because Formula One races there. Mm-hmm. MotoGP, I think, has run there. So it's a course that's familiar to more people than just NASCAR fans. And therefore, I think NASCAR hopes that they can, get some cross, that those people will then potentially watch that race.
I've been noticing, okay, are we in this point, like, is there a cycle of where there's a flipping of generations when it comes to NASCAR? Because they were talking about one of the only drivers that was in Dale Earnhardt's final race was Kurt Busch during the race. And it just shows you how the drivers that we've been following, now it seems like it's gotten younger and younger and younger again. Are we at that point right now? Like, is this the beginning of a new generation? Because I know we still got some of the older drivers there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is because when I go back to Phoenix, and when you had Jimmy Johnson giving Chase Elliott a fist bump there after Chase Elliott wins the championship, that was kind of like, all right,
pass another torch.
Exactly. That's so when I look at it from that standpoint, that, certainly there's still some, the over 40 crowd of Newman, Kurt Busch, Harvick, and a few others. But, you've got so many now young drivers who are now, they're not just new. They're not really new, but they've been around for 4, 5, 6 years. The Blaneys, the Elliots, Bubba Wallace. So now I think people are starting to know who they are. They're also starting to get their own identity and really are going to be able to now, kind of be kind of the core group that, that this generation kind of focuses on.
What are some of the big stories that we need to be looking forward to this year in NASCAR? Like, I mean, if just moving forward, some of the things, are there any of the points different? Like, is the chase at the end, or is there a mix up with any of the races there?
No, all the races in the playoffs are the same. But, obviously you've got now 6 road courses in the regular season instead of 2.
Man.
So, so that's, you've got Daytona road course, you've got Circuit of the Americas, you've had the Indy road course and
Sonoma
Road America. And then you have Sonoma and Watkins Glen that have been around for a long time.
Haley Deegan, what's the timeline? Are they not going to try to rush her? Like, have you heard anything there? I know she's going into the trucks now.
Yeah, I would think they're looking at 2 years of trucks, 2 years of Xfinity, and then a move to Cup. But I think it all depends on how she progresses, and if she did really great this year, there might be an urge to get her an Xfinity car next year. If she needs another year in Xfinity, if she needs a third year, I would think that they would look at that. But I wouldn't expect her in the trucks more than 2 years. I think if you're going to spend 2 years in the trucks and then you're going to try Xfinity, just like, you look at a driver like Harrison Burton, right? He spent a year or two in the trucks, didn't really have a very good truck season in 2019, but had a pretty solid rookie season as an Xfinity driver with 4 wins in 2020.
Burton, which one is any relation to Jeff or Ward?
He's Jeff's son. Harrison is Jeff's son.
You're bringing up sons. What happened? Did Mark Martin's son was everybody? He was doing a lot of racing and stuff. Was it just one of those things? He lost interest in it. Like, what? Any behind the scenes of what happened there? Because a lot of people expected some stuff from him.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago. Trying to go through my memory bank, but I think it was pretty much that he did. That it just wasn't something he, wanted to keep doing. And I think in racing that if you're not committed, if you don't want to do it, it's really hard to make yourself do it.
Mm-hmm. Can Chase be bigger than his father? When it comes to popularity, because Bill Elliott there for the longest time before Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the popular driver. Everybody loved him. And I think Chase is that kid now. I think he's the new one.
I think he can be. I mean, you look at he's 25 years old and he's already won a Cup title. So how many more can he win? Can he win, his, if he wins 4, 5, 6 titles, I think he can be bigger than his dad. And, and he's already so popular at such a young age. So, I think the potential's there.
Bob, where are you living at right now? Like, do you still have a place in Daytona or do you North Carolina now?
No, I was in North Carolina, but I realized a couple of years ago that the best place to live is where your wife lives. And so, I am mainly in New York City.
Oh, no kidding.
There's planes. I can get to races pretty easily.
Let me ask you though, at the beginning of COVID, that had to be pretty bad because New York was the hardest hit area there. I mean, was it as bad? People just did not go outside, or were there just some of those people that just kept going out?
Well, I mean, I think it, when you live in New York, unless you get everything delivered, and you can get everything delivered, but going to the store, you walk to the store, you walk to the drugstore, so you walk to the grocery store, so there were still people who you were at, if you need to get, essentials, you went out, you walked in, you wore your mask and you went and got them, so, I mean, again, you could do Instacart, right. And all that stuff. But, there also is, if you want to go and choose things, it's, so I guess what I'm saying is that in some ways, there were always people out walking on the sidewalk because you didn't really have a choice, right?
Yeah.
And so, but, obviously there weren't a lot of stores or anything open there early on.
Now, what does NASCAR have a time frame of when they might starting letting more and more people? Because Daytona International Speedway and Homestead, our governor here in the state of Florida basically just wants to let it ride. Just let as many people in as possible. Has that been discussed, or are they still trying to be cautious?
They're still trying to be, cautious. They're keeping their stadiums at about 30% full. Las Vegas can have 20% if they get approval from the government. So that's what they're hoping to have in a couple of weeks. But they're being they're trying to make sure that they seat people, they can seat families together, and then have a social distance until in between their seats and the seats of other people. I think the question will become is that once more people get vaccinated, could you have a section of no social distancing with a vaccinated section, right? And then a section of that would have to be social distance of people who are not vaccinated. That's probably the next question that sports leagues are going to have to answer.
Yeah. Now, so, man, there's so many questions I want to ask. All right. So the interview I thought with Michael Jordan, Strahan, Hamlin, and Bubba was fascinating. I liked it a lot. Did you have a chance to see Michael Jordan? Was he at the track this past weekend for the 500?
He was at the track, but he was in the suites. So
okay,
part of NASCAR's protocols is that you're either in the infield or you're in the suites.
Oh, they won't let you go back and forth.
They don't want people going back and forth. So he was in the suites. Apparently he'll be in the infield potentially, on the pit road this week. But I did not see him at the racetrack.
I mean, that's got to be kind of intense. Like knowing your car owner is Michael Jordan, one of the most competitive people that's ever played any sport. I mean, I'm not just talking baseball, football. I'm talking one of the greatest competitors.
Well, I guess the question is, if you're Bubba Wallace, are you more intimidated by Michael Jordan or by Richard Petty? I mean, right? Because he's been running for Richard Petty, right? So, I mean,
man, that is
you've got the 43 on your side of your car. In NASCAR, that's it may not be the worldwide attention that you have by driving for Michael Jordan, but there certainly is you certainly have an owner who apparently knows how to win, right?
Yeah, but has NASCAR ever thought about that though? Drivers that are racing for one team but owning cars in other teams, like when Gordon was a part owner in Jimmy Johnson's car at one time, correct?
Yeah,
for Hendrick.
I mean, really, it was kind of a he owned a piece of Hendrick. He owns an equity portion of Hendrick. He still does, and they just kind of said, well, okay, so we're going to put your name as the owner of the 48 car.
Yeah,
but yeah. He technically owns a piece of every car.
Yeah, but I mean,
but I understand what you're saying, right? Because you had Dale Earnhardt. Remember, Dale Earnhardt owned the cars and raced against them. But it was just this past year where NASCAR they've bended their rules a little bit. They have the 4-team rule where a car owner can't own more than 4 cars.
Because Roush owned 5 at one time, right?
Roush owned 5. They got all 5 in the chase, and NASCAR said, "Well, maybe we should limit it to 4." So since then, they've always said a driver of a 4-car team can't own another car. But for Hamlin, and I guess now going forward, they've loosened up that rule, or they loosened up that interpretation of the rule. Their main concern is that they don't want, let's say Dale Jr. drove for Hendrick Motorsports, and then he had Junior Motorsports come up and have a 4-car cup team. Theoretically, you could have 8 cars that all have sponsorship. Well, not same motors, but all have sponsorship and get money because of Dale Jr., right? Because Dale Jr. could do appearances and get money from all 4 of the Hendrick sponsors, and then from all 4 of his sponsors. They don't want somebody to have that much control on the sponsorship side. It's more business type reasoning rather than competitive reasoning. They don't want somebody to be able to make money off of 8 cars. They just want you to be able to make money off of 4.
You mentioned the Infield. I've been to many Daytona 500. and usually just the people watching in the infield at Daytona is amazing. How was it like this year with the pandemic? Were there still people out, or did they just like let them loose? And
there were still people in the infield. I think they didn't want, there weren't as many like large gatherings in the infield. I still saw a couple of, it looked like certainly more than the people at that campsite in that campsite. But the one thing they do is that they don't allow for tent camping because their shower facilities are closed, so it's only RVs.
Okay.
So that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit too.
Now the rain, man. I wanted to get into that. What I saw that beginning crash. Now there was also a big deal about the Saturday night race, and maybe you can fill me in on that. About did somebody like do a spin out? Because I know they always keep that little spray painted part in the tri-oval. Like if you've ever been to a Daytona 500, they actually hire people to hold ropes where you can't walk on that part of the area. What was the big controversy? Because I think Chip Wilds was making a lot of
I think the issue is there was rain earlier in the day. And so when there were wrecks that went through the infield, they didn't just
mess it up.
Yeah. So there was a lot of mud and a lot of digging into the infield that they were going to have to repaint. So I don't think it wasn't that anybody did anything wrong or anything that they weren't supposed to do. It was just a matter of, hey, this is what happens when it rains and then you have crashes.
I got to tell you, man, Fox, is it just because there's not as many people in the stands, but the camera angles were absolutely amazing that they were getting? And I was actually seeing a lot of drones flying around. If you look closely, when Mcdowell was out, I was wondering how they were getting those runaway shots like that. And then when Mcdowell gets out of the car and they're interviewing him, I'm seeing like drones flying behind him, and I'm like, is that something new? Have they always been using drones, or?
I want to say the drones started last year during the pandemic. Because when there were no fans, then you certainly could use them, and again, that's not really my. It's not my area of expertise, but
you can tell a difference.
But obviously you saw it, So I think we're obviously always looking for ways to enhance the telecast.
See, that's the thing about it. The radio, they get like HD radio and stuff, and then the TV, like I saw during the Super Bowl, they were like overusing that new filter where like it focuses on the foreground and blurs the behind. Like there needs to be like some cool technology for like you writers and stuff. Maybe I mean, like when you write, okay, when you start writing, are you like one of those like old school hipster typewriters, or do you use like an old school typewriter, or like are you like doing speak this? Like I don't know. Like is there like some of the old writers are like, no, man, I don't use like a word processor. I use a real typewriter.
No, everybody uses computers and everything. I think now everybody's getting into do you use an app to record interviews that transcribes the interview, and then you can go back and listen and have it and get the words right a little bit quicker than you used to when you used to just have to transcribe it all yourself and that kind of thing. But there's I think most writers now are if you don't keep up with the technology, it's really hard to stay in the business.
Bob, how when you go into a day or go into a weekend of racing, are you just out there trying to take everything in and let the story find you, or do you go into the weekend where maybe you've got a little inside information, or you have an idea of an angle that you're wanting to go into the weekend writing? I'm sorry, I don't mean to like nerd out about writing, but I've always found it interesting.
No. So, I mean, I think it depends on the week. I mean, I think here's the thing. Going into the Daytona 500, you knew the manufacturers were going to work together. You saw it in the duels, right? You saw that they were all going to pit together. So I think you go into that saying, okay, I'm going to watch for that because I know it might happen. Now, if it turns into a story or not, you don't really know until it happens. But I think you have an idea of potential storylines, and then when Michael McDowell all of a sudden wins the race, you take that sheet of storylines and crumple it up and throw it away, and you write about Michael McDowell, right? So I think that's kind of the way you approach it.
Now, sources as a journalist are always protected. Okay. Like, and you don't have to tell me who or whatever, but like, do you have certain people, maybe people that maybe work on the inside, maybe work for NASCAR or work for a certain track or maybe a team like that will give you stuff like that? And has NASCAR ever come to you like, all right, Bob, how did you find out this information? You know, like, has anything ever come close to something like that?
They'll ask, but they don't get an answer. But I may give them an idea of like, how, especially if it's something that they would have no idea, like how something works or something like that. But, I think the key is not to have one or two people. The key is to have lots of people, right? So that you're not going to the same person every time.
So you would say a lot of the people do trust you because you have a name and people know.
I have a certain. I like to think I do. You always want to have more, right? And there are other reporters, there are other writers who have other, who might have same sources or different sources. So it's all about who you trust. The hard part about NASCAR is, it's a business, and you always have to know you always have to question why somebody is telling you something, like what's in it for them, and it's.
Have you ever gotten burned on some info? Like somebody giving you like false information or something?
I think there's certainly people that who will try to throw you off when you ask a question, and if you have if you have the answer from other sources, like, okay, well, this person, they were not honest with me before, so
you don't let them in on it though, because you don't want to let them know that they're not telling the truth, right?
I think there's times it depends. If you really feel like somebody has thrown you off or has really done you wrong, you may actually say something like, look, the next time this happens, I'm going to have to go with my sources because you lied to me. I don't think that's not an unfair thing to say to somebody. And, because you're just explaining to them what's happening. I think in any business, it's better to talk out if you have an issue with somebody than if you don't.
Have you ever, because everybody's seen like either Kyle or Tony when he was driving, like a reporter will ask a dumb question. I'm not saying you've ever asked any dumb questions, but have you ever had a driver get upset at you for a question that you've asked?
Well, beyond the Kurt Busch incident.
Phil people, I know the Kurt Busch incident.
So, when Kurt chewed me out and got suspended for a week because he was already on probation. I didn't ask for that to happen, but or for that penalty to be. But issued,
inside you had to be like, hell yeah, this article that I'm about to write is.
You don't really want to be part of the news, but sometimes just in our position you are. So it's it's just part of the. Look, our job is adversarial at times. It's just the nature of the job. It's the nature of reporting. And so I think the key is just don't take it personally. Even if somebody is yelling at you or mad at you or whatever, you explain to them, explain your best and move on.
But I've done, like, in radio, I cut my teeth doing the man on the street stuff, asking questions. And I've noticed, why do reporters, like, here, I'll give you an example. Like, when it comes to politics and stuff, people ask a question and they give you a runaround answer. Do journalists not ask follow-up questions anymore, or say, you know what, you really didn't answer or even come close to answering anything that I said?
Well, I think that it's twofold. I think one, I think there are people who ask follow-ups, but look, if you feel that your question was pretty clear and they're not gonna and they don't answer it, then you're like, okay, I gave you the chance to answer it, and I can make an opinion on your answer. And if you're not answering the question, then you can't come back and say, well, you didn't give me the the chance to respond, right? So you're trying to get information, but if you feel that somebody is just going to give you the runaround, then why waste time with 3 or 4 follow-ups? Depending on the situation,
Yeah.
you may say, I want to get to another topic that I might actually get some useful information. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So I think it just depends on the situation. Sometimes you say, okay, I'm going to follow up on this because I really want to see if this person will tell me. Another time be like, you just kind of throw up your hands. Okay, look, anybody with an earlobe can heard your answer, knows that you dodged the question. And I've done my job to ask you that question. And, and we're obviously not going to get an answer for it.
All right, two more, and I know we're getting really inside on stuff, but I'm always been interested, and I think you are a personality when it comes to NASCAR. I've seen some of your tweet ups. People love you. How did you come up with the tweet up idea? Because I know a lot of people do them, but I mean, it seemed like pre-pandemic, everybody was showing up for your tweet ups.
Yeah, in 2009, they got some of us at NASCAR Scene Magazine on Twitter, and Jeff Gluck, Jeff Gluck, some fans said, hey, we want to see you. He said, okay. He's like, well, I'm going to come to this area outside the track at this time if you want to say hello. And like 4 or 5 people came to say hello. Or maybe he said, hey, I'm going to go sit in the stands to watch the Busch Series race. If I'm going to sit here. So if anybody wants to come, come. So, and he just started building it, and I wanted to join. Tweet ups are a great thing because it allows us to talk to a lot of fans quickly, engage the fans that who are hardcore fans a lot of times. So we can ask a lot of questions and get, we can find out the pulse of the fans really well. And plus, they like to talk racing, and and that's part of our job is to talk racing. And so it's a kind of a great way to help us get a better pulse of the fans and help the fans get a little bit more of a pulse of us.
All right, I'm about to get into this weekend, but being a radio guy, I think some of the best broadcasters when it comes to radio are the guys at MRN. Like, if you've never listened to a NASCAR race, they make it exciting. They never talk over each other, and it's like not a lot of people realize this. They're at certain points of the track, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They usually have some.
Now, do they have a producer? All right, we're coming into turn 1, or how does that work, or do you even know?
I don't know too much, but I mean, I think they pretty much, a lot of them have worked together for years. They kind of know, okay, this person's going to take this when the leader gets to certain here to there, they know.
Oh, I got you.
They I think they base a lot of their stuff on visuals. And cadence.
Okay. All right. Who has the best infield food in the media center? Because all the media people, out of all the tracks you go to, Daytona has a pretty good spread.
That's a tough question.
Well, I didn't mean to pitch you on there because I used to partake.
Well, no, and the thing is, I'm eating a lot of vegan these days.
Oh, you are. I mean, you are looking more trim, though, man.
So that's that makes it tough because there isn't always a lot of food there. But I would say,
I think I actually stopped Bob.
Yeah. The thing is that Daytona often has a little salad bar. So anytime that that you can at least get a little bit of a salad and do it yourself so that there's no stuff on there you don't want. That's a good thing.
All right. Coming up this weekend, we got the road course. This is going to be a little bit more different than what it was during the Clash because you're going to have more cars on the track. Okay. So what are we looking for now? This is also another question. Got a lot of rain last weekend before the 500 weekend. Have they thought about rain tires if they had to, or is it not feasible because of being on the bank?
No, they'll have rain tires. They'll use rain tires if they need them. So,
have we ever seen rain tires on? I think maybe the Canada race. Maybe I can't remember.
Well, and Charlotte this past year, the Xfinity race had a lot of rain, and then the Cup cars started the race on rain tires, many of them, and then went to slicks pretty quickly.
Are there such things as road course ringers like there used to be? Like a
Not
boy
really.
said, no, there isn't. They just
you
are
could
not
say
interested.
AJ Allmendinger is but he's running a full Xfinity season. But it's just so hard for them to get in good cars, and plus the Cup drivers now are so much better at road course racing that it's really hard to, for them to really have an impact. Now you'll see it in some of the other series. Like a guy like Andy Lally is going to run in the Xfinity series, and he'll be really strong. But of course, he also has, he was the Cup Rookie of the Year about 10 years ago, so he also has a lot of stock car experience.
Marcus Ambrose, though, I don't think, would you have considered him a ringer back in the day? Because he was running a full schedule.
I wouldn't have considered him a ringer. Nope.
No. Now, all right, Michael McDowell wins the 500. His first win, 14 years. Doesn't seem like he's been in there that long. Is that why the Daytona 500 is so big and so great? Because that can make his career. That can be his only win, and he'll do that. And that'll be the last question, and I'll let you go.
Well, I mean, I think part of what makes Daytona great, right, is the fact that there are a lot of people can win that race, right, because of the style of racing and the style of drafting, and so it creates a lot more of the drama. You always have that chance of the underdog winning that race. Now, does it happen all that often? Well, it happened since 2011 and Trevor Bayne, right? So, so once every 10 years, I kind of like that, right? Like that's true underdog, right? If it happened every 3 or 4 years, you'd be like, oh, that's not great. But, but to see somebody like Michael McDowell, a guy who spent 4 years doing a start and park car, back in the mid 2010s, now, winning Daytona 500 in his 358th career start, his first Cup win. That's a story of perseverance, and I think that's a story that a lot of people will gravitate to.
Could we get another first-time winner this weekend?
You could, but I think it's going to be, Chase Elliott's going to be hard to beat, right? He's been the star of the road courses, and I think the other top road course racers are going to, they all already have wins. I'd be mildly surprised if you have a new winner this week.
Guys, do yourself a favor, follow Bob on Twitter, because it is one of the greatest race companions. Like, if you're a NASCAR fan, follow him. It's Bob Pockrass. It's Bob, you do the pitch. It's yours, Bob Pockrass. Tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, they find me at Twitter at Bob Pockrass, BOBPOCKRASS. Same on Instagram, and I've got a fan Facebook page, Bob Pockrass fan. And
if they want to check out your writing, where is your articles usually found?
Well, I think if you've watched anything on Fox, any sports event on Fox over the last 6 months, you may know that we have a new website and a new app, and all my writing can be found in the NASCAR section of those. Hey, Bob, man, I'm so proud. I'm so happy for you of all your success, man. And if there's anything you ever need, please feel free to reach out. I will. It's always good to talk to somebody who grew up in Central Florida and Pearson and went to Taylor High, considering I spent a lot of years covering some football games there. Well, thank you, Bob. Have a wonderful day.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp.
Man, maybe I would have way more sex partners in my life if I just threw caution to the wind.
It's the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Tuddle's Daily Podcast is brought to you by StitchYouUp.com. For your embroidery, screen printing, vinyl, and direct-to-garment printing needs, visit StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up specializes in custom caps, shirts, decals, and anything you want to personalize. Whether it's one item or large orders, they can handle any size. Unsure about what you want? Let Stitch You Up help you with your logo design. Visit StitchYouUp.com or contact them, Eric at StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up. Definitely not your grandma's embroidery. Nerd. Radio personality and hot talk satirizer. You're listening to the Tuddle Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Last segment of the day. I apologize that I went a little long with Bob Pockrass. I mean, the guy I consider him a friend. I mean, you got to think about this. This guy, him and Big Ed were writing about me when I was playing high school baseball at the Daytona Beach News Journal. So that's how long that I have known him. And then when my wife started working for NASCAR, and I started going to all the events and getting to hang out with Bob and to see how Bob has progressed, going from sporting news to ESPN and then now to Fox. I mean, I could not be prouder of the guy. So don't forget, every night, 7 p.m., I do the Tuddle Daily Podcast live stream on my YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. Please tell your friends, family, loved ones, neighbors, coworkers, whoever it may be. Make sure they subscribe, and it's very important to hit that bell button, because when you hit that bell button, you're going to get alerted to any time that I get up any new uploads or I go live on my channel. Now, earlier in the show, I was talking about how I was on the Bubba the Love Sponge show. Bubba the Love Sponge show this morning. Seth Kushner left. I wish him the best in his future endeavors. But my name kept coming up. My producer called me. I was also listening at the time because I was kind of interested to see what they had to say. But he was like, hey, man, you got to call in. You got to call in. Because I wasn't going to call in. I did not want to cause any issues, but I'm glad I did. It was amazing to be able to talk with Bubba today. I'm still having a lot of fun doing my podcasts and stuff, but yeah, guys, I haven't been on terrestrial radio in quite some time, and I'm ready to get back to work. Let's do this. And if you want to see that happen, reach out to Bubba on his social media, his Instagram, his Facebook. I don't. He's not on Twitter anymore. I think you can still leave him an email, show@btls.com. That's show@btls.com. Let him know, hey, man, bring Tuddle back. I'm going to be cool. I know how Bubba wants me to work now. He does not want that big counter programmer. And I can play any part that he needs me to be. I'm clear-minded. Clear mind, full heart, clear eyes. I know I just butchered that, but from Friday Night Lights. But I'm all about that. Tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it. You complete me. Let's make it happen. Let the big boss man know what you want. Tell him you want Tuddle back. Guys, want to thank every single one of you for listening. Want to thank everybody that supports me. I hope you guys are being safe, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
And that's the show for today. Thanks for listening to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. Hey, don't be a dickhead. Do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. Also, check out the Tuddle category at 315live.com. The Tuddle Daily Podcast is brought to you by the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp. You want some cool-ass sunglasses? Check out vaporshades.com. Also brought to you by Starfire Transport, StitchYouUp.com, PocketPairClub.com. Special thanks to show intern Hannah and Charlie Alamo for their contributions. Additional imaging and production is provided by CCA Productions. Facebook.com/CCA Productions Presents. Show voiceover service is brought to you by JCVoiceover.com. That guy's got a damn sexy voice. You should hire him. Check out JCVoiceover.com. If you want to help support the show, go to paypal.me/TuddleOnTheRadio. Comments? Concerns? Or do you just want to let Tuddle know he's being a dickhead? Tuddle@gmail.com. That's Tuddle with 2 D's at gmail.com. Leave a voicemail at 407-270-3044. To follow all of Tuddle's social media, go to Tuddle.net. Thanks again for all your support, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuddle Daily Podcast.
Hey, yo, Terry, what's going on?